Hey everyone, welcome to our lesson for week 5. We just a couple reminders. We have the class tomorrow, a Zoom class at 1 p.m. That's on Tuesday, the 28th, if you'd like to join us. Last week I had 3 people, so let's see if we can get those numbers up. If you're hearing this video, I would love to see you guys, or even just your little name cards in the Zoom meeting, and you'll get me, or you'll be able to see me walk through the lesson, and then you can ask questions in real time if you have them. But let's go ahead and we'll jump into our lesson this week. So pretty standard stuff where you've seen everything, and I still, even despite everything is in Moodle, I still get questions from time to time. So keep in mind that that everything will be submitted in Moodle. And I found what y'all did last week so far, the ones that I've graded, really interesting. It was really cool to use the Padlet and to see how you matched up the different types of propaganda. And just keep in mind also that this is a cumulative process. So everything we've been working on, building this pitch that you're going to do at the end of this to the shark. So all of it is accumulating, and then you'll be using all of the different pieces or artifacts, if you will, in your final presentation or your pitch to the sharks. So that's why some of you have been urging, you may have left out a part or skipped over a part or not had a logo or not made your design. And I really want you to get those things in order so that we will be using them at a later time, and they will be important to your overall presentation later. So I've got the Shark Tank presentation set up here. So I'm just gonna got to open this up a little bit so I can choose present for us. So here we are in our Shark Tank, and we're on this week right here of April 26th, creating the sales pitch. So you'll be using the business plan, and you'll be using an advertising technique that you looked at last week, this week, and design portion of it, what you did in that week 1 of this project. So let's go to the next page here. Your pitch to the sharks. So eventually you're going to be pitching your idea to the sharks, and you're going to need to prepare a few things before you do that. So you'll be looking at here your name and logo and tagline. These will be used within your pitch. So that's why, like I said, you wanted to have that logo because you will be using it. You'll be using one of the propaganda techniques that we looked at last week. So you can put that anywhere you see fit to put that in your pitch, but you'll be using one. And so remember, in that reflection piece last week, you were supposed to think of the one that would work best for what it is that your product is trying to get people, product or service is trying to do. So you'll write your pitch, and in a good pitch, there are 5 characteristics that are required for a successful presentation, and they are building a rapport and stating the problem or the need, how your product brings satisfaction to people, visualizing life with this product in it, and taking action, or what we call making the ask. So let's jump into those and talk a little bit about that. The building rapport. So when you're in your pitch, and obviously it's a little different here because you're in an online configuration rather than in presentation form in a class or in a space where you'd have the actual people there to work off of them. So you're going to have to do your best to turn on your charm, to greet the sharks. You'll state your name. You'll talk about your product and give us your tagline, which is your basically your motto or your slogan for your product. And then you'll get their attention. Use a detailed story, a shocking example, a dramatic statistic, something like we've talked about in class, the attention getters, the hook, if you will, from your English classes. So how will you grab their attention to keep them interested? But these are the things that are really memorable. So if you use this as a translatable thing, so some of you are like, how does this work in my life? The real world example piece of this is that you will have to do this in interviews, in every interview that you have. It's not just going to be what's on a piece of paper and your college, your work experience, your portfolios, if you will, but it will be about what it is that your personality says about you when you're talking to people. So you want to try to ramp that up a little bit. However, and it can be, you'll see people do things, but you want to do it in a way that's genuine to you. So kind of like I've said before, if you're a funny person and that's natural to you, then you might use a piece of that in the building rapport. And if you're not typically the funny person, then you would use other things. You know, we all have different qualities about us that are our strong suit, and so you'll go with that. So you'll get their attention, and then the need is you're going to show the problem exists and is significant, so that there's a need for this. We have to see that here's the market and here's a place where there's this hole or gap, if you will, where people need this product or service, and you will provide that to them. So that's what's really good about this, is show that the problem won't go away. And I've used the example of Uber and talking about taxis, the cars. If you've ever driven in a taxi, it's really dirty and the cars are kind of beaten up, but it was the only way for you to get from the airport to your hotel or for wherever you were going, because they cornered the market, if you will. So there were not other opportunities for you to use something else. So there was the need. The need was that we only have this one service that's happening, and people coming up with a better way. And like we talked about a couple of lesson cycles ago, I talked about how then they thought, here's a product that would have a service that would have no overhead, meaning they didn't own the cars, they just paid you mileage for you to use your own cars. And those of you who have used Lyft or Uber know that it's far cleaner because the car actually belongs to the person who's driving it. So it's a much better experience overall. So there's lots of different things that you could see this was provided for, with their being able to show that there definitely was a need and how this would fill that need. So document your statements with statistics or examples. So you may have to do a little research about this. And if you've been creative, like I told you you could, and you've created something where people can fly or they can teleport, or they can do all different kinds of things that y'all have come up with these, and it's made it very fun for me to grade, then you may have to be a little bit more creative with the research that you come up with, not to fabricate it, but to use what would be most comparable. And some of you who've been in class, I've talked about that. So let's look at the satisfaction aspect. So you're going to offer a solution for the problem that you've shown to exist. So if you're stuck, you'll refer to the product's uses, and then what the problems are that they're solving. So it talked about using a bubble map in the business plan. And as I'm looking at this, some of you decided not to do the bubble map. So this is one of those places where it was something that is going to come back and that you would need to use. So it's just contrast comparing. Here's what these things offer. Here's where we're going to beat the current market, and we're going to offer something that this company or what's currently happening does not offer. And that would hence be the satisfaction, because we're being able to maximize satisfaction and give you more. And you can show the importance and highlight where you would meet that. If we go back to the example I gave you about Uber, it would be those things. The Uber drivers want your business. They want to get 5-star ratings. They offer, sometimes they have mints and gum and water and different things to make you give them a better tip. So they're really utilizing this space that once was, I'm just going to be a driver to get you from point A to point B in a taxi, and now elevated to, I've got a better environment. I've got my Scentsy air freshener in the car to make the experience more pleasant. And I'm giving you fresh, cold chilled water. And so those are things that are adding to the satisfaction. So where are you adding satisfaction? Where are you giving us something that your competitors are not? So express how much your product is better. All right, and let's look at the visualization. So one of the things that, if those of you who've been in sales or want to go into sales, you have to have people envision a life with your product. And then it makes them, if you're effective in doing it, it makes you believe that you can't live without it. Okay. So let's take, for instance, car sales. Car sales people, those of you who've ever had experience going with your parents or maybe personally yourself looking for a car, they do a really good job at visualizing, helping you to visualize yourself driving this car, that this is going to be your car. And then when you go back to your old car, you're like, gosh, my old car doesn't have air conditioned seats, and it doesn't have, these warning lights, and it doesn't, the hood, your trunk doesn't open automatically. You have keyless entry on the new car where you have to use a key maybe in your old car, or all the different things. So once they get you visualizing yourself sitting in that car and wanting that car, then you can't visualize yourself not. So once you go back to your old car, you're unhappy, and that is effective visualization, because now I want the thing, because I see myself owning the thing or having the service. So this is what you're going to try to do. Tell us what will happen if we don't do something about this problem. If we tell us a story or a scenario where with your product is meeting this need, is helping. Maybe yours helps at a crisis. Maybe yours provides extra steps of service that are much better. Maybe it's safer. Some of you have created things that are safer, so you can maximize talking about the safety aspect. So this step can be anywhere in your pitch, okay? And then the big question there is going to be the ask. Motivate us to get out and do something and buy this. Wrap it up, make it memorable, but ask for the money. Be sure you say how much money. That's why in the feedback I gave to many of you, I said you need to tell me how much money we're asking for, because you were kind of vague or being round about the amount of money that you needed. So we need to get to that. And then you'll thank them, okay? It does say drop the mic, but you could do something powerful in that last thing that you say to them, and that would go back to echo to the stuff I taught you about speeches. The final thought is the last impression you leave your audience with, so it's an important one. Okay, so let's get out of here and go back to the assignment really quick so that you can look at it. One of the things I just want to look at real quick before we finish up is look at the actual document you're using. So everything here is links. There's an example of a pitch here for you to watch, and then everything like I've shown you before, your work, the worksheet that you're doing this week will be here. You'll add your submission here just like you have in previous times for all the other assignments. But the assignment here is your sales pitch. And when you click on it, it's going to ask you to make a copy so that you'll make a copy of the document for yourself. So sorry, my computer's taking a second to make that copy for us. And then that way you can fill in everything that you need to here. So you just go through, and this is just it walks you through and tells you what you need to do for each one of the things that we just went through. What we do for build a rapport, state the problem and need, the satisfaction and satisfy the need, the visualization, and make the ask like we talked about. Okay, so you'll just be filling this out, and it does give you some little clips of things that you could look at as examples. Okay, so this is fairly straightforward, so you will just put everything you need to here. And then it says turn into the Google Classroom, but you'll be turning yours into Moodle, so you'll just save this and put this document in Moodle. And that is all I have for you this week. I hope to see you tomorrow at class if you'd like to. If you have to come for any questions, I'm going to walk everybody through. So if you want to come, say a few minutes late, and if you have a question, you're welcome to jump in and ask that question. Feel free to email me. And just know that you guys need to stay safe out there. I appreciate all your time, and thanks for coming by to watch the lesson 5. And I miss you guys, and I hope you're taking good care of yourself. So we will see each other again next week for our next lesson. Thanks so much.